Ladies and gentlemen, we all know low birth rate has been an issue in certain nations around the world. Not all nations, just certain ones. And the US is one of the biggest that's going through low birth rate. And in fact, you know what? This is such a big issue that the mass shooters are even talking about the low birth rate in their manifestos. So you know it's a touchy subject. So this came out in MLive. Michigan's birth rate hits record low. What's going on? So this came out October 20th, 2019. Liz Aldrich was 32 when she married and 34 when she had her first child, and recently gave birth to her second child at 37. It was a timetable that made sense for Aldrich and her husband, who spent their 20s getting through college, graduate school, and building their careers. And see, that's the big thing now. You know, people either don't want children at all and want to focus on their career, or they're delaying everything so that they can get their careers underway. So you really can't get mad at people for doing that, because this is what America has pushed in this country for decades. We feel like we wanted to have certain things in place before we brought kids into the mix, said Aldrich, who lives in East Grand Rapids. That's an increasingly common scenario among millennials who are delaying marriage and children compared to previous generations. It's a trend that helps explain the falling birth rate, which in 2018 hit a record low in Michigan and the nation. We're at a fertility rate that is lower than the Great Depression, which is very significant. Pamela Smock, a sociologist with the University of Michigan Population Studies Center. So as you can see on the chart, when it comes down to Michigan's birth rate per 1,000 residents, 1900 to 2018. So you can definitely see there is a huge difference in the birth rate when you start in the 1900s all the way to 2019. And you can see where it dropped and it peaked and all kinds of things going on this chart. Okay, but one thing you can see is when the 50s hit, it started declining, and it never really bounced back up that high ever since. That was the last time. A big reason for that significance, Schmuck said, the current fertility rate of 1.7 births per woman has fallen below the replacement rate of 2.1, the number needed to maintain a stable population. The issue of population shrinkage is a very serious one. And Ren Farley, a retired University of Michigan sociologist, population growth stimulates economic growth. He said population decline presents a lot of challenges that people don't think about, such as having a significant workforce and enough younger people to support senior citizens. In raw numbers, Michigan recorded 110,293 births in 2018, the lowest since 1941. Wow. The drop in births is most apparent among women under the age of 25. Since 2000, Michigan teen births have dropped 64%, while births to women aged 20 to 24 declined 35%. Teen births have dropped so dramatically that there were fewer teen births in 2018 than a century when Michigan had a third of the population it does now. And you know what? That's why a lot of these people are lying, especially, the group of women that can't have babies and always complaining about the group of women that can have babies. And they're talking about all them babies and all that stuff. They're lying. Most teens today do not get pregnant like they did years ago. You rarely go out and see a pregnant teen. You might see some, but you never see the amount that you saw even 30 and 40 years ago. Never see that amount ever. Okay. Smock said the drop in teen births can be attributed to multiple factors. Teenagers are waiting longer to have sex, more likely to use contraceptives from the start of sexual activity, and they're using more effective forms of contraceptives. The drop in births among older women involves a more complicated mix of economics and changing attitudes. It's costly to have a child, and some of those costs are going up, such as the cost of college, Farley said. Moreover, wages for men are largely stagnated, and it's typical for women to see their incomes take a hit when they become mothers. All of these things make it harder for people to have the means to have children or to feel they have the means to have children, Smock said. We're not really organized yet to support people having the number of children that they ideally would want to have. Yeah, well, the way they got the family policies set up on these jobs is a disgrace. And I can tell you 6 weeks and then you got to go back to work, and that's too soon. That's too soon. And how is that in support of a family? No, you're in support of a job when you set up policies that look like that. You don't have very good family policies, so why would anybody want to have families? It's work, 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 work. Okay, 6 weeks off. Now get back to work. It's too cold and it's not very family oriented. So I can see why people are walking away from having it. You've turned people off from having families. You turned them on to having careers. So now that they're not focused on families, you shouldn't be upset about that. That's not what you promoted. You didn't promote the family. So another factor is changing social mores and values. In the 1950s, it was the social norm to get married and have children, Farley said. And while many find it satisfying to have children today, it's become increasingly acceptable not to have children. So maybe it's not so much about economics, but that people have different values today, Farley said. Yeah, that's true. You know, people don't focus on the same things that they used to focus on years ago. Smock said that the survey data shows very clearly that adults who are childless are not stigmatized like they were 30 years ago. As the stigma decrease and more people forego having children, it shifts the culture even more to see that it's an acceptable option, Smock said. Now that spirit is coming from above, y'all. This is why they're acting differently. Okay, so the number of birth by age group 2008 compared to 2018. So if you look right here, the people under 20 had the fewest children. And then you see the 20 to 24, the 25 to 29-year-olds, which had the most in 2008 and 2018. and then the 30 to 35, 34-year-old and 35 and older. So look like the 25 to 29-year-olds in the country had the most children, and looked like all of the other age groups had fewer. I'm not surprised. But y'all, please tell me what you think. You know, what's happening in Michigan is really happening all over the country. This is the norm, and it's not going to change. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.